my guest, very special guest. He's Executive Director of GTI Asset Management Company. He's a sports project management expert. He's a University of Ibadan alumnus and is a Hall of Famer of that same university. He is the pilot of the Nigerian Professional League project for GTI. I have the greatest pleasure to welcome Mr. Nelson Ine to this morning's program. Good morning, Nelson.
Good morning, Chief, and good morning to listeners out there.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, during today's show, you'll be able to reach us from wherever you are on these telephone numbers. Just take them down. 0700 2255 1037. Once again, 0700 2255 1037. There's a second number, 081 27 82 84 97. 081 27 82 84 97. You'll be able to join in our conversation, but not yet, because we'll be meeting Nelson Ine. To start with, I didn't know anything about GTI until that great company came up to partner with the Nigerian Professional League. So let me use this opportunity as I welcome Nelson. Tell us about GTI.
Good morning, Chief, once again. Okay, a brief introduction of GTI. GTI is an investment banking outfit operating in the Nigerian capital market and in other financial markets in other aspects of the financial market. GTI, well, the core of GTI is we actually believe in innovation and financial possibilities, and the whole idea is coming up with products that are unique and have serious national economic impact, like the one we are presently working with the Nigerian Premier Football League, So GTI has been around for over 20 years, and we deal on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange as stockbrokers. We also operate in the banking sector and also in financial advisory. We also have the asset management arm, which is the one actually managing this sports asset, that has a sports asset unit, which I actually preside over. So basically, GTI tries to deliver solutions to problems that will have serious national impact. Thank you.
So there were problems with Nigerian football, obviously, by the time GTI came up. And the interesting thing for me is that GTI actually spent 10 years studying the Nigerian Professional League, 10 years doing research and studying before they now came up with their own solution. What is so attractive about the Nigerian Professional League to take a big organization such as yours, deeply involved in investment, and make it a project? What was so attractive about the Nigerian League?
Like I said, we look at assets that potentially has great value to offer. And if you look at the sports asset is a critical asset in any nation, especially given the situation of Nigeria with our youthful population, teeming populations we have, and the passion for sports. Now, if you look at the way sports operates in other parts of the world and the contribution of sports to the socio-economic development of those countries, we realize that the level of our sports, with what the sport was contributing to the GDP and the economic multiplier effect sport was contributing, was not good enough. And we felt that given the potentials we have, sport can do far better than what it was doing and what it's currently doing too. So that aroused our interest, and we decided to research and also come up with a very unique product that will provide the solutions to transform the sports sector into a very vibrant sector, which we called building a football economy. Because in that vibrant economy, there's so much benefit for all stakeholders, and there's so much benefit for the society. We can see how sports is contributing to the UK economy, Europe generally, and in other parts of the world that have been able to manage their sports assets efficiently. We think that we feel that Nigeria should not be an exception. Nigeria should also be able to manage the sports assets efficiently, given the natural endowment God has actually bestowed on this country with talents, abundant talents. There are countries that have the physical assets, but they don't have the human talent to take advantage of those assets and resources they have. But in the case of Nigeria, we have that comparative advantage of having the youthful the talent, and what we only need is how do we put these talents into good use? That was one of our driving force. And again, if you recall, because based on the editorial you just made, because we have not been able to make good use of these talents, other countries take these talents, transfer them into valuable assets that is contributing significantly to those economies out there. And we feel that it is time we need to do something about our sports. It was obvious a lot of things were wrong with the way the sports was structured. And that was why we are not getting positive results. So we came in, and good enough, the NFF, the board of the NFF and the NPFL found us worthy as a very useful partner in this transformation process. And that was how the whole journey with the NPFL started. And so far, so good.
Before you tell us your experience, before you tell us your experience with the NPFL and with the NFF, you know, I'm interested that here was a project, Nigerian football, that was riddled. It was reeking with crisis and chaos and confusion and, you know, anything that, you know, would not sell football. And that has been going on for a long time. That had been going on for a long time. And yet you found it attractive, you know, despite knowing the vagaries of this country, of Nigeria. You know the problem we have in Nigeria about trust, accountability, and so on, particularly in that sector of our sports. You know, that was why I was wondering, you know, what the attraction was. But you have spoken well. What now became the nature of GTI's relationship with the Nigerian Professional League or with the NFF? What was the nature? What is the nature of your relationship? Because you people describe it as strategic partnership. What exactly does that mean?
Yes, because what it means is that, you see, the role of GTI is beyond the sponsor. You know, a lot of people just believe that GTI is a sponsor. And if you look at the responsibilities we have taken on, is far, far more than what the sponsor will want to actually have with a league body. You know, in our role is how to work with the NPFL board, with the support of the NFF, to reposition the league, looking at every aspect of this league. Where we have some deficiencies, we need to look for solutions to overcome those deficiencies. You mentioned a whole lot of those deficiencies with the league. And again, I must mention this. You see, we came to the point where we realized that we have gotten to that point where they just have to be an intervention. If we all sit back and look at it, every man's job is nobody's job. We felt that we've gotten to a point where there needs to be this intervention, and we felt that, well, we could work with these bodies as partners in progress. So the relationship is working with them harmoniously to ensure that the various aspects of this project is managed efficiently. And that is what we have actually been doing with them. And you see, fundamental to all this is also funding. Funding is just an aspect of it. So what we actually do goes beyond funding. We try to look at the whole, we are more system focused. How do we transform this whole system working with the NPFL body? So that is basically the role we are playing.
You are not sponsors, as it were, even though you are funding aspects of it. That clarification is important. You are not sponsors, yet because you don't, the project does not carry your name. You know, you are not at the top of, you know, its pronouncement, or even optically when you are hearing the professional league, GTI is not up there. You are not sponsors, but yet you have put in so much money. Like, how much money are you putting into this? And not being sponsors, how are you going to get your money? You are investors, are you? Are you going to get your money back? How?
Yes, again, I also mentioned that we have a very unique solution we have delivered, a very unique solution that has never been done in this world. If you recall, we have the Nigerian Football Fund. The Nigerian Football Fund is a specialized fund that puts funds from investors. And what we do with those funds is to intervene in this asset to try to reposition it. Like I mentioned, funding is very key. Now, the whole idea is this. We are trying to create a conducive environment to bring all partners on board, where partners are now comfortable to partner with the league. Because of the challenges of the league in the past, that is the structure we are trying to put in place. With what we have done so far, partners coming on board now know that there's a lot, the system and the structures on ground is quite transparent, is accountable, like you mentioned, is accountable, is transparent, and also there is efforts to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of this system. Yes, we have invested a lot of money, and investors have invested a lot of money. But we believe that as the project begins to grow, definitely a lot of investors will get returns on their investment. Not only even the investors, all stakeholders will be adequately rewarded. But then for this project to grow, we have to get it off the ground and put the basic structures in place. And that is what we have done. Quite a lot of funds have gone into this project because there's no way you can run this project without funding. Quite a lot of funds have gone into it. And we believe that as the project begins to grow, all stakeholders will be adequately rewarded.
Okay, 3 years down the line, 3 years into the project, what has your experience been, or what have your experiences been 3 years into the project? What is the impact of your intervention visibly from what you can see? What have your experiences been? Good, bad, ugly?
Well, I'll say it's been exciting, challenging, with a lot of ups and downs, which is expected anyway.
Yeah.
From the nature of this kind of project. Now, you see, when we started, there were a lot of doubts. Is this possible? A lot of people doubting our capabilities to actually manage this process through. But I believe today with what we have seen in the league, the progress the league has made so far, I mean, that confidence is now being restored. And we can see the outcome of that confidence in some aspects of this project. Like I always say, we still have a lot to do to get to where we want to be, because the whole idea is to drive this league to be the best in Africa, the position it rightfully belongs to. And we strongly believe it is achievable. Yes, we've had a lot of challenges dealing with the various stakeholders. Again, in this kind of projects, there are different interests at play. And sometimes initially we started, there were a lot of resistance, which is also expected. We call it change resistant phase. Sorry, excuse me. You know, we call it the change resistant phase. A lot of resistance here and there because, I mean, we are dealing with the interplay of various interests on board. But then, what our focus is to ensure that we deliver a solution that is fair to all. We deliver a solution that over time people can see that this solution is in the best interest of all of us, based on some of the issues you have raised in the course of your editorial. So we've had a lot of challenges, but as we encounter those challenges, we've been dealing with them and we've been making some progress. But I'll tell you, the project is physically, mentally, and financially sappy. It requires all that we have thrown into this project, and we still have quite a lot to do to get to where we are going to. But again, I must mention this. What we have done is to create that atmosphere to attract a lot of partners to come on board, because there's nowhere in the world a single entity runs this kind of project all through successfully. So we've gotten to a level now where we are expecting both the local and the domestic, local and foreign partners to come on board and let us build something that will be beneficial to all, that will deliver value to all stakeholders, from broadcasters, sponsors, what have you, merchandising, name it, all the various aspects of this project that we need to improve upon, and that can also get a lot of value from this project. So it's been, I would say, it's been very interesting, exciting, and also very challenging too. Thank you.
Okay. Look, I know this from my own experience, that for the league, for any league in the world to succeed, it has to have the players. The players are the key. When you have good players, quality players, renowned players, and so on and so forth in your league, it would attract everybody. Rashidi Yekini retired for 5 years, and he came back to a club to play here in Abeokuta. First match, here was a club that was attracting 2,000, 3,000 people to its games every week for many years. Rashidi Yekini comes back after 5 years, and the first match, the stadium was full. We are seeing something like that happen in Kano presently, where Ahmed Musa has come back and Abdullahi, they have both come back to that team. Although Kano is one of the biggest centers for football in the country and people usually go there to watch, but with Ahmed's comeback, return, not only has he stimulated more interest in football in Kano, but everywhere he goes to play now, you see people come out. So the key really is about the players. But what is happening in Nigeria, this has nothing to do with GTI. What is happening is that there's this movement of players. It is a flood. Movement of players to every league in the world. If you go to Bangladesh, you will find them. If you go to Albania, you find them. Mauritius, you will find them. They are leaving the Nigerian league, even as we speak. You know, I'm in the business. So they don't stay long enough for Nigerians to even know them within the domestic scene. So from year to year, in fact, from month to month during the season of a match, you find people just migrating. So the players are not staying. In your own experiences so far, they will stay if they are well paid, if their salaries are on time, if what they are going to get in Nigeria is comparable to what they will get in Benin Republic. They are moving to Benin Republic. They are moving to Sudan, Ethiopia. So what are we not doing? Is it that they are not being paid? What have been your own experiences with the players? Their inordinate movement to all these, so-called professional teams abroad. What do you think? Your thoughts?
Thank you, Chief. Again, you see, when you have a defective structure, these are the outcomes of defective structures that comes to play. Because when you have a defective structure, the structure becomes inefficient. And if it's inefficient, at the end of the day, the structure starts losing value. And that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to address these issues from the fundamentals. Let me divide our project into 3 phases. It started with the concept development and the partnership arrangement. Now we are moving into a second phase of this project, which is very key and fundamental. Now, address some of these core issues we are talking about. That is the transition phase. Transition phase, whether we are doing the right thing or we are doing enough. Elite sports all over the world is supposed to be run like business, not like a social activity. When you run it like business, then you manage it efficiently and you try to retain value. And from that value, you benefit. Today, these deficiencies has affected our ability to retain talent in our league because these talents are not adequately rewarded. Meaning that we've gotten to a level now where the transition phase of this project becomes very, very important and inevitable. We have to transit our clubs. We just have to transit them to private ownership with people who have genuine interest to manage football the way it's supposed to be managed and get the real value out of football. Under that situation, some of these problems will be significantly addressed in terms of the welfare of the players, the remuneration of the players, and also the value that the league itself can create for all the participants in the league. Today, the biggest problem, like you mentioned, is the ability to retain talent. Where the league cannot retain talent, it affects the entertainment value of the league, which is what you are referring to. The entertainment value is going to go down. If the entertainment value is down, it's going to affect the demand for the product. So, good enough, as part of the solutions we have delivered, you can see the stadium now, the confidence is being restored. A lot of fans are coming back to the stadium, which is one of the good things, which is one of the outcome of some of the efforts we have put in the last 3 years, which is good for the league. It used to be like that before. We expect it to be better going forward, you know. Then that area of managing the players, keeping the players, that is why I said that this fundamental aspect of this league, we need to look at it and see how the solution can be delivered to rectify that problem. Yes, in terms of movement of players, if you also look at the macroeconomic dynamics of Nigeria today, you see that apart from players, footballers leaving, some other sectors are also being affected, where some of the best hands are also leaving. But what we are trying to say is that even if that is happening, we can have a solution for the football sector that can minimize that level of migration from our league. And that is what we are, you can't stop it totally. There's no league in this world where you stop migration totally. But what is done is that if you have attained some level of improvement in the league, some level of improvement in the welfare package of the players, the management of the players, you can also manage that aspect of it and ensure that the domestic league is able to retain some very quality players that will be able to give that entertainment value that we all crave for the league. And that is the solution we are trying to deliver now because, like I said, we are taking this whole thing in phases. We're finishing the phase 1 now, moving into the phase 2. This phase 2 is a very critical phase of this project. It requires all of us, first of all, telling ourselves the truth. Is the Nigerian League aligning with the international best practices of how other elite sports league in the world, how they operate? Now, if we notice that gap, which we already have, the whole effort now is that how do we now cover that gap. And that is the next phase of this project we are focusing on. And we believe, just like we started, we're also going to deliver that phase to this project. And once that is done, a lot of these other problems we are complaining about, we may not eliminate them 100%, but we will actually reduce it to a very reasonable level, and everybody will be able to see value in the league. It's just inevitable. And you see, the situation can be likened to what happened to the banking sector in the 80s and the 90s. It might not be totally the same, but there's some similarities there. Today, the same Nigerian banks that were operating locally, the level of efficiency was very low then, but they've all upgraded. They are not only operating successfully locally, they are also expanding into other countries, and they are doing very well. So,
but these are private entities, and you mentioned something of great interest, emphasizing, the private ownership of clubs. Indirectly, yes. you're saying that, well, in our history, clubs have most of the time been funded by governments, state governments in particular. And even as we speak, of the 20 clubs in the Nigerian Professional Football League, 18 are still funded by the government. And some of us think that if government had not continued that support, the league may be dead. Government is even doing better than some of the private clubs that came and left and died and so on and so forth. So how do we resolve this issue of government ownership of clubs, and then the private ownership? Although Kunle Shoname and his team, that is Remo Stars, they have become a model. But you see, he has other sources of generating funds for that club that are related to sports that many other clubs do not have. So what has been your experience, particularly in this area of trying to get private ownership of clubs, and yet you find that the biggest clubs are government owned? How do we deal with that situation?
Thank you very much, sir. You see, like I mentioned, it's a total transformation both from the center to the clubs. You have to get the center right. Even if you are going to attract private investors to come in, we need to get the center right. When you get the center right and you put the right structures in place, okay, the private investors will be attracted to come in. Some of the fundamentals, like I mentioned, there must be proper transparency and accountability in that system. No real investor wants to go to a system where there's no proper transparency and accountability, where funds just come in and funds are just utilized. At the end of the day, nobody's accountable. I mean, there's no proper accountability for how those funds have been managed, whether they've been efficiently managed.
But that's what we have. That's what we have, and it's still existing, and it's in the majority of situations and of clubs. So how do we deal with it?
Yes, we've already started the process of dealing with it. Like I said, it's going to start from the center. We first of all, we must have a league that if investors look at this league, their confidence can be restored that no matter the amount of investment they bring to this league, the investment will be properly managed and they'll be able to get value out of this investment. And if you look at it critically, you see every league in the world have different participants in the league. You have the sponsors, you have the broadcasters, then you have the club owners that are all in the system. But you see, if you look at other leagues that we are trying to model or trying to align our league to, one of the things you see in those leagues is the system of transparency and accountability. And there's a constant effort for the improvement of the whole asset. As the economic dynamics are changing, the league body is also changing along that line. Like I said, we've not gotten there yet, but we've started the whole transformation process, and that has already taken effect. If you look at some of the outcomes we see in the league today, it's because of what has been started. And it's going to be a continuous thing, because there are still a lot of aspects of this league that we need to improve upon. You see, if all these basic structures are not in place, then it becomes difficult for the investors to come on board, because the lack of confidence is a big problem. Investors will come into a space that they can trust, that is operating very well, operating transparently, the system is accountable, and revenues that are generated are efficiently managed. That is the fundamental, and that is the basic thing we have actually put in place today.
Fantastic.
Today, the reason why there's some level of sanity in the league today, the reason why there's some level of stability in the league today, is because of the solution we have delivered. Today, yes, like I said, there's still quite a lot of job to do, but that trust from the various stakeholders is being restored. And that is why we are seeing some level of improvement and stability in the league. And that process is going to continue. And these are the things that even the private investors we are talking about, these are some of the things they need to come on board. Once they see those things, and those things are very obvious, and you can have engagements with them to tell them, to transparently open the space to them and let them see how the system is working, and they can trust that system, that will attract a lot of investors to come on board.
Fantastic.
And that is precisely what we are doing. And that is what has been done everywhere. Sir, if you recall, even the EPA, like I always say, that we're all excited about, had their own fair share of challenges in the 80s up to early 90s when they started their own transformation process. And today, we all can see what has actually happened. It requires a lot of discipline. And that discipline we have to instill in this system, and must be instilled in this system in every aspect of the game. And the NPFL board has been doing their bit. We have been doing their bit. The NFF has been doing their bit. And I believe all of us working together as partners in progress will definitely deliver this solution.
Fantastic. Television and football, sports generally, they go together. They are like tea and sugar. You know, you can't succeed without TV. So what has your experience been? You know, this is my area, television. In those days, long time ago, you know, I went to do some research and I found out that only a few countries were using 3 cameras for a football match, and they specialized in it. And I had to train my cameraman, you know, to go and learn how to cover a football match, even with 1 camera. The Argentinians could do it in those days. With 1 camera, they would cover a football match completely. But, you know, it was a bit more difficult. And later it became 3. And that was how Nigeria joined, you know, that group of covering one, you know, a football match or any sports event at the National Stadium, then with 3 cameras. Then later it became 8 cameras. 8 cameras to cover a football. Then later in Europe, it went to 28 cameras. And now, you can't even count the number of cameras to cover a football match, just to add quality and perspectives, viewing perspectives to it. You cover every angle. There's slow motion, there's fast motion, there's so many angles to a single shot and so on. Some matches actually have like 48 cameras covering them. What is your experience like with the Nigerian League?
Yes, thank you very much,
yes.
Chief. Television is very important. Media is very important with sports business. You remove television from sports business, you've taken almost 90-95% of the value away. And it's inevitable that there must be television because that's what gives the real value to any sports asset. And because of the importance of television, when we started this project, we had to look at that aspect of it as a very critical aspect to create value for this asset. And that was when we signed that deal with Propel. Propel is the streaming partner of the league, and using AI cameras to ensure that we could see the matches simultaneously from different venues all over the country. And after Propel, Propel is strictly streaming. And after Propel, we signed that deal with Star Times on DTT and DTH. You know, like I said, we had to start. And what we believe with what we've started now, we hope to improve on these processes as we go on this project. in addition to even the television and the streaming television, we're also considering radio now, to ensure that we have a good reach and we can get everybody to participate, those that can be on television, those that are not on television, probably on the go, will stream. If they can't stream, they have the option of radio commentaries. We believe that all this will bring value to this project, because without television, it becomes a very difficult product to sell.
Well, what we have just brushed over is very, 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 very critical. What do we have now? Even with the streaming, I see that how many games are covered, and one or two cameras are used. This is my advice. But if you want good TV coverage also, you must have good grounds, because if you don't have good grounds, the football being played on the ground will not be attractive. You cannot now see a great match going on that makes sense in Europe and now come to one that does not make sense, where you are playing on a bad pitch, the passes are not going through, and the coverage is not right. Are you influencing or trying to influence the quality of infrastructure to play the game? Are you influencing it? Because without that one also, TV will not be attracted. And when we mention TV, the quality again of camera, of cameras and coverages, I want you to speak about that. I know it's not GTI wahala. It's not your wahala. But if we don't speak about that really, and we get that right, even the investment of GCI would be threatened.
It's actually part of our wahala. Like I said, as strategic partners, we look at every aspect of this whole project. And TV is very, very critical, like you mentioned. Now, because of we are starting, like I said, we are starting. First of all, in terms of infrastructure, the league body made it mandatory that there are certain venues that we are not television friendly and even match friendly. And if you recall, some teams were not allowed to play on their home ground because of this reason. And that has also encouraged other teams to ensure that they upgrade their facilities. In that area, we are going to be improving as we are improving on the infrastructure, we're also going to be improving on the broadcast, because they go hand in hand. Like you mentioned, you can't be broadcasting a match on a poor arena that is not television friendly. It's going to take the shine of the game. So we are very conscious of that. And the league body is also very conscious of that too. And what we've done, if you recall, in the last 3 years, there's been a lot of improvement in the infrastructure. But like I always say, this improvement thing is a continuous process. Year in, year out, we'll keep improving on it. Even the broadcast you mentioned, Propel, on the average, stream about 5-6 matches per week. Start times, on the average, 3 to 4. But like I said, we are building it up. And as we are building it, we are going to build it to a level where we'll be able to have all the 10 matches per week, at least on our streaming platform, and even the other aspect of it, at least 6 to 7, 8 matches per week, or on the DTT and DTH. And we're also looking at a situation where all the matches can also be on radio commentaries, and we've been forging that partnership with prospective partners that can operate in that space. The truth is that what we have today, yes, is not good enough, but we are going to be improving on it. And we believe that after this season, by next season, there will also still be some improvement. And that improvement has been taking place year in, year out since we started on this project. Television is very, very important, and we are not ignoring that aspect or treating it with levity. Definitely, we are talking to the partners from time to time. We engage them, and we all discuss some of the challenges. Yes, there are quite a lot of challenges, even on their own part, which we have to consider, especially at this stage of this project. And if, like I said, you see, You also mentioned the gradual progression even other leagues started with, how they started and where they are today. You see, we are also moving, and we believe with time, year in, year out, the improvements will come. And in some few years from now, like I said, if our target is to be the best league in Africa, that best should cover every aspect of our game. And that is
How much time? What's the duration of your contract? How much time are you giving the NPFL to put these things in place? How much time do you have? Are you not going to suffer from funding fatigue if these development improvements are too slow and so on and so forth? How much time do you have?
Well, our contract with the league is 10 years, subject to renewal for another 10 years. And now I think we are just in the third year of the contract. And because we know that quite a lot of time is required to put all this in place. In terms of the funding, we are also talking to a lot of other partners that are going to come on board, and some of those discussions are going to be concluded shortly. But what we've done is to put a system in place where, as the league is, we are ensuring that there's some level of progress in the league. It will get to a point based on the engagements we have been having with various stakeholders and prospective partners, where we are going to see more improvement in some of these things we are talking about today. Yes, we've been managing the league for the past 3 years, and we'll continue, and we expect other partners to come on board. We've been engaging with various stakeholders, and shortly we'll also be signing some other deals for the league.
Okay, I read somewhere, just to find out how true that is, that the contract with Star Times is worth 1.6 billion naira over 5 years. How true is that?
Yes, the contract with Star Times is over $1 billion annually, and that contract has been well managed. We've been managing it very well today, and we expect to improve on our relationship with them, and so that's the truth. The contract with Star Times is over $1 billion annually.
Okay. How much money is the league generally making these days? Do you have any idea? Any idea whatsoever? Because after 3 years, do you see a progression in the economy, the football economy, as it were? Because it has to grow. You as investors must follow that trend, and it must be going up northwards. It must be. What kind of money is the league making now?
Well, I'll tell you that the league is not making much as expected now, and we also, we also anticipate that because of the start. It's a gradual thing, and I must also mention here that the league is, at least today, there are partners on board that we are dealing with, and we also expect to get more partners on board. The revenue is growing, but it hasn't gotten to that level where we can say that we have attained that level of comfort. And at this level, no, we're still growing, but at least we are getting some revenues coming in annually.
Okay, let Nigerians are listening to you now.
Yes.
The problems, some critical problems that you think the league faces, that if tackled immediately, there are so many moving parts. You can't fix everything, but there are some truly critical ones that maybe we should focus our attention on. Some of us who are outside can help to promote, to push, to enforce that these things are done. Because what GTI is doing is unprecedented in the world. It is, I don't know how to thank you, because without GTI, I tell you, Nigerian football would have been dead. So your role in the revival, in the restoration, in the reformation, in the promotion, you don't find it anywhere. So GTI must be given maximum support by everybody, for the survival of our football as a whole. So we are behind GTI. I can assure you that. But what are those critical problems that you face now that you think we need to pay particular attention to amongst the legion of problems, of course, that beget our football?
Thank you, Chief. The critical problem, one, Nigerians should take ownership. Nigerians need to take ownership of these assets. It belongs to all of us across board, from the media, corporate Nigeria, and everybody. Because if you look at other leagues today, it's a collective effort. What we appreciate in other environments that is attracting our players is a collective effort. Today, we have a system on ground that can be trusted. We have a system on ground that is transparent. We have a system on ground that is accountable. And we have a system of ground that is looking at every aspect of this asset to ensure that we grow it. So funding becomes very key. Partnership becomes very key. We need a lot of partners from all the sectors in the country, from the betting sector, the banks, financial sector, manufacturing sector, like you find in other environments. We need all partners to come on board. We are open to discuss with all of them. Like I said, what we have done is to create an environment, very conducive environment, where all of us can work in harmony and develop this asset, and everybody can, in exchange for value, they can get. Again, another critical aspect, again, our media has done quite a lot. I must commend them, but we still have more to do in terms of promoting and selling this project. Because the more the project grows, the more benefit to everyone, to players, to media, to all the participants in this football ecosystem. The other critical thing, again, these are to the various clubs. We need to look at the individual, the management of the various clubs in terms of infrastructure and other components of management that is required to make them run more like business, with a lot of transparency and accountability on their own part, like we are trying to drive. So for us, it's a call to duty for all Nigerians that love our football. It's a call to duty for all of us, all hands to come on deck and work for the progress of this project. Because we are now working today for not only this generation today, we are also working for the generations to come. And I'm sure 10, 20 years from now, just like the English people will look back, 30, 34, how many years? 33 years from now, when they started their own process, they can look back and beat their chest and be very happy that they have created an asset that has brought tremendous value to them. I also want all of us to look at this project in that same light. With all our collective efforts coming together, we also want to look back 10, 15, 20 years from now, and we want to all beat our chests to say, yes, we've delivered something of value to both this generation and even the generations yet unborn. Thank you.
I will just give you this advice. You know, I told you the story of Rashidi Yekini, and he's coming back into the league. And I've said this through time in my writings on television and promotions and so on, that one big way of bringing a lot of interest, more interest than any other way, back to the league is for the biggest names in football to come to Nigerian football and play. You know, there was a time when we had some, the goalkeeper of Ghana, Joseph Carr, a few players from Brazil. We had a few players from Ivory Coast. They all came here to play in Nigeria within the league. And we had Amokachi come back very briefly to play, and he changed football in that part of the country. Rashidi Yekini played and changed. I have always believed that our players who have done well abroad their best way of paying back is to spend the sunset of their careers within the Nigerian league. Their sunset. Mikel Obi finished playing. He never played football in Nigeria beyond secondary school. Finished his career and he's reaping the benefits here without playing in Nigeria. And it's just an example. There are so many of them, even though we see that a few are coming back. But I believe, and I'm saying this publicly, that more of our players, can you imagine JJ Okocha at the tail end of his career, coming back to play in the league, whether it is on the worst pitch in Nigeria, whether it is, everybody will go there to watch, or Kanu and the like. I think that is one way that even the GTI should start thinking. We should start that conversation now and encourage, their return, if we cannot get foreign players to come back. So as we start the roundup of our show today, just help us project into the future. This is the time for you to, look into the future and speak to Nigerians as to, what you see, and, woo them to pay attention to the Nigerian Professional League again, as they used to do in those days. We don't say they should not watch EPL and the rest, but they should also follow our own, out of necessity and because we have a much better product. The key.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
the
Chief.
Key. Let me repeat it. The key are 2 P's. 2 P's. 1, the players playing, retired, whatever it is. The players. 2, the pitch. The players, the pitch. The players need a theater to express themselves, to play the game. If you have those 2, you are winning. Anyway, your final words.
Thank you very much, Chief. You are very correct. And that is why we said we needed to, first of all, create a conducive environment to attract all partners. And when we talk of partners, we're also referring to the ex-international. And the good thing today is that the league has been able to attract some of them to start coming back home. And many of them have also indicated interest to want to come back home to at least play before finally retiring. And we believe that their coming back is also going to help this league. And also, in addition to that, this project, the Nigerian Premier Football League, is our own. And we all need to look at it and take ownership of it in every aspect and ensure that we all make our own little contribution to ensure that we're able to grow this asset. So we're also using this medium, this platform, to call on corporate Nigeria, call on all the other partners to come on board. We are open for very useful, meaningful discussion on how we can all work together in harmony to grow this Nigerian Premier Football League. Thank you.
Well, that has been Mr. Nelson Ine, the pilot of the GTI project to revive and to promote the Nigerian Professional Football League. And they are doing a Herculean job. They are doing a fantastic job. And they are recording great successes, but there's still some ways to go. And those of us who are also little stakeholders in Nigerian football, we are coming out to assure them that we are going to support as much as we can. I wish I was a JJ Okocha or a Kanu Wankwo. I would be the ambassador of this project that you are on. But you see, we are old now. People don't even remember us anymore. But we are still going to give our best shot and to support you. And you mentioned the return of radio broadcasting. Yes, in those days, of the NS Okonkwas and so on, their voices drove Nigerian football to a frenzy. We want to revive that tradition. And that's why Eagle 7 Sports Radio is going to join with GTI to start to, cover a few games in the Southwest. I want to thank GTI for giving us that opportunity, and we hope that will help in our own little way to do that. So that's all from me here. Join me again next week, Saturday. Bye-bye.